Hi, this is Daniel DiTuro. Has your wealth soared during the last 2 decades? In this video, I'll share the land of opportunity. Are you a rich or poor American? Poverty in America, the definition of poverty, and should you save or spend? The United States is known as the land of opportunity. Some people have more opportunities than others. In theory, anyone can go from poor to rich with hard work and perseverance. In reality, millions of Americans work dead-end jobs, jeopardizing their mental and physical health. Americans caught in the web of consumerism are drowning in debt they cannot repay. Credit cards, not cash, are used to pay essential and non-essential expenses. Easy consumer credit allows Americans to live beyond their means until the bills come due. That assumes a person has any means to live on. Unlike cash, Americans pay up to 30% interest for the privilege of going deep into debt and owing hundreds of dollars a month. Also, unlike cash, fail to make a monthly payment and late fees and penalties are added to the total owed. U.S. economic growth depends on wasteful consumer spending by people with little or no disposable income. 24-hour-a-day TV networks and infomercials are designed for impulse buying unnecessary products. With about 5% of the world's population, the U.S. consumes about 25% of the world's resources. Most eventually ends up in a landfill or in a self-storage facility for a small monthly fee charged to a credit card. Many Americans use their garage to store thousands of dollars of unused or forgotten items, while vehicles of much higher value are parked outside. A long time ago, Americans with $1 million net worth were in the top 1%. A strong stock market and $16 trillion in consumer debt has expanded the number of billionaires and super-rich millionaires. A billion equals 1,000 million. The U.S. leads the world with over 700 billionaires. That's a very exclusive club in a country of 330 million people. About 9% of adult Americans are millionaires. Are you a millionaire? If you answered no, you have a lot of company. Sadly, the land of opportunity is also a land of poverty. Millions of Americans have no savings and live paycheck to paycheck. The so-called conservative U.S. has one of the world's lowest savings rate. Many Americans are underwater with a negative net worth. Net worth equals assets minus liabilities. A negative net worth means debts exceeds assets. People with little or no net worth live with the specter of bankruptcy. In this example, the person or family has a positive net worth of $171,000. That's a long way from the $522,000 needed to be in the top 50%, and $1 million to be in the top 5%, and nearly $11 million to be in the top 1%. According to the Federal Reserve, the total net worth of the top 1% is about $45 trillion, up from $18.5 trillion in 2011. Total net worth of the bottom 50% is about $4 trillion, up from $200 billion in 2011. You may think the increase from $200 billion to $4 trillion is significant, until you take into account huge losses due to the 2008 recession. Like today, people with low net worth use their savings and retirement accounts to pay essential expenses, assuming they have any savings to tap. Typically, the net worth of the top 1% decreases less and recovers faster than the bottom 50%. Regardless of stock and real estate values, millions of Americans in the bottom 50% believe retiring comfortably at age 65 is no longer possible. Many now work into their 70s and beyond to pay essential living expenses. An estimated 5% of U.S. retirees have a net worth exceeding $500,000. The remaining 95% are in the bottom 50%. How can so many senior Americans have so little after working 30 to 40 years? Instead of being debt-free by age 65, many senior Americans have home, auto, and credit card debt. Building wealth is more difficult when you are perpetually in debt. The U.S. has 1.6 households living in poverty for every millionaire household. Politicians catering to their wealthy benefactors close their eyes to the poverty around them. All homeless Americans are labeled lazy, worthless people looking for a government handout. Poverty knows no political party. Sadly, some of those lazy, worthless people are homeless, injured veterans. Approximately 23% of homeless persons are veterans. In 2020, many conservative politicians proudly claimed over 6 million Americans were lifted out of poverty. In a country of $30 million 10-minute suborbital flights, millions of children rely on a free school lunch for a nutritious meal. Millions of senior Americans go to bed hungry to save money for rent, food, utilities, and medicine. In 2018, a 72-year-old Arizona woman died after her electricity was shut off for failing to pay a $51 past due bill. The temperature that day was 107 degrees. She was just one of the faceless, nameless, elderly Americans struggling to survive in the land of opportunity. The utility company's top executives were compensated an average of $4 million. Living in poverty is based on income, ranging from about $13,000 a year for a one-person household to just over $35,000 a year for a six-person household. While a family of four with an income of about $31,000 is just barely above the poverty line, it excludes benefits like medical insurance, paid time off, and paid vacations. Many people work low-paying, part-time jobs with no benefits. States with the highest poverty level have low or no minimum wage. The $7.25 federal minimum wage has not increased since 2009. And the federal minimum wage has many exemptions, including paying people with mental and physical disabilities less than $7.25 an hour. By ignoring American consumerism, a frugal person or family can survive on poverty income. But those opportunities are dwindling, especially in large urban areas with high cost of living. And being poor is not the same as living in poverty. People living in poverty may qualify for private and government assistance. That assistance can include health care, food, reduced home property taxes, and reduced utility bills. The amount of assistance is based on income. People lifted out of poverty may no longer qualify for government assistance, like free school lunches and health care. The poor have incomes too high for assistance, but too low to pay essential expenses. For millions of senior Americans, Social Security is their sole source of income. That was never the intent when it was created in 1935. Social Security was supposed to supplement retirement income, not be the only source. The average Social Security check is about $1,500 a month. An estimated 5 million senior Americans live in poverty. Without Social Security, millions more would be homeless and/or living in poverty. A high rate of poverty and poor is a cancer on a nation. Being poor affects both mental and physical health. As is usually the case, the poor and people living beyond their means are most affected by higher prices. People relying on prepared meals spend more than people who prepare their own meals. Many politicians ignore the poor and people living in poverty. They encourage consumption and debt while discouraging saving. Wall Street loves spenders, not savers. Saving is not always easy, especially for low-income workers. While many Americans use easy credit to live beyond their means, 60% of the rich drive non-luxury vehicles. The money they save is saved or invested to make more money. While home mortgages hovered around 2% interest, credit card interest rates averaged 17%. Only 20% of Americans can pay off their monthly credit card balance. The remaining 80% make the minimum monthly payment. Cutting back on free social media is another way to build wealth. How? The average American spends 2.5 hours a day on social media. The wealthy average about 2.5 hours a week. You can spend your time surfing the internet, texting and chatting, or you can use your time to save and build wealth. Most free apps not only waste time, they target ads for non-essential products and services while collecting volumes of personal information. Some financial apps collect personal information unrelated to saving and investing. Like most things in life, spending and saving comes down to choices. For people with disposable income, how they save and spend it are choices they must make. As it has been throughout history, many Americans struggling today were caught in the web of consumer consumption. The wealthy are also paying more, but they do not fear being hungry or homeless. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about this video. Thank you for watching.